welcome to the first inaugural edition of the Sports Extravaganza, presented by Hollywood Entertainment. I'm your co-host, Tony Dean, and I'm here today with a very special man, a man who is, needless to say, what can I say? He's done everything. He's the head basketball coach at the University City. His name and my co-host today is Kelvin Lee, and he's our very special guest. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing excellent, Tony. Thanks a lot, man. People don't realize just how excited I am about today. Today is our first podcast together, and I'd like to shout out to you because, again, I thought about it. I want to make sure this was done right, first and foremost. We put it back. We were talking about starting a couple of weeks ago, but we put it back because I wanted to make sure it's right. Then I started thinking, I started brainstorming. And I go back with you to St. Louis University. I remember you used to bring me in for Roberts Network down on Kings Highway, and then you used to interview me down there.
That's right.
And again, I thought about that, and I said, then we stayed friends over the years. Your son came to my camps. You're always around. You know basketball. And again, I just thought, I said, let me call Tony and see if he'd be interested in being the co-host for the podcast. And you jumped all over it. And that made me feel good, man, because you got that voice. You got that knowledge in the voice. And again, also, Curtis Conyers, because without Curtis, we wouldn't be sitting here today.
That's right.
He's allowed us, to have this podcast at his venue, which is Hollywood Entertainment, in downtown, beautiful downtown Ferguson, Missouri, historic Ferguson, Missouri. Again, this is a special place we're sitting in, and this is going to be so much fun. I just can't wait. I'm so excited that, again, today to tell my story, and again, and the guests we're going to have in the future, it's going to be unbelievable. So again, get ready for a great journey, and it's going to be special.
It's going to be unbelievable, and it's going to be awesome. And speaking of awesome, when we come back on the Sports Extravaganza presented by Hollywood Entertainment, we're going to talk specifically with the coach, Kelvin Lee, about his journey. Stay with us, folks. Yes, we're back here at the Sports Extravaganza presented by Hollywood Entertainment. Again, I'm your co-host, Tony Dean, here with my co-host and my favorite coach, Coach Kelvin Lee. Kelvin, let's talk about your awesome story and where it began in Crestview, Florida, a little panhandle town near Pensacola, Florida. Talk to us about that.
Again, like you just said, I was born and raised in Crestview, Florida, in the Panhandle near Pensacola, Fort Walton Beach, and Destin. And a lot of people in St. Louis can relate to Destin because that's where they vacation. A lot of people travel to Florida for the vacation time. So again, growing up in that small town, again, I came across the basketball, and I played all sports growing up. But basketball was my meal ticket. I knew it. Played football, played baseball, ran track, did some of everything. But again, that basketball, when I picked it up at 2 years old and started bouncing it with two hands, I fell in love with it. And again, I just took it from there.
Sounds good. And of course, we'd be remiss to not talk about the person that's the most special person in your life, your mom. How was growing up with your mom? What influences did she have on you growing up?
Special lady. And Novella Lewis was her name. She remarried, and then she made sure I had everything in life. Again, I can't say enough about my mom. But my dad left me when I was 2 years old, and that left me with a single parent. And like my kids at U City, my players at U City, I relate to them because I've gone through that experience. The same thing they're going through today. Their dad's not being involved in their lives. So again, my dad moved and went to California. And again, he stayed in touch with me, promised me a lot of things in life, never came through. But eventually, I didn't use that as a crutch, though. I didn't use that. I didn't get down on myself. Because I knew I had a mom, had a roof over my head, and so I just kept working in basketball and sports. Sports in particular kept me in my time structured, going from one sport to another sport to another sport. I stayed out of trouble. Now, that not seem like I didn't get in trouble sometimes, but I did. Okay, but again, I stayed out of trouble, but basketball, man, again, I just kept going, and like you said, again, my mom, though, she was always at every one of my games, sitting in the same spot in the gym. They knew that was her spot. Nobody sit in it, and that's her seat. So again, mom is special, but again, she passed away, though, and again, we'll talk about that. But she was very special in my life.
Of course, and of course, you had three older brothers also that it helped you in the game. And even though you're an independent guy, you're always in the gym, but they were right there helping and giving you an example as well.
Well, Sidney, my oldest brother, and Keith also, but those are two main ones right there. I got knocked upside the head so many times, I probably have terminal brain damage today. So again, but they helped me along my way. They beat up on me on the court, but eventually I got to where I started beating them because I stayed the course. Again, but they were very instrumental in my development as a person. Made about that toughness out of them, beating up on me as a kid. Again, my determination and my passion, I wasn't gonna quit. Some kids would quit when they got beat, but I said, no, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you guys. So again, I just stayed the course, and again, eventually I started beating them.
Now, you set records at Crestview High School as a basketball player. You had a chance to maybe go to large universities here or there, but tell us about your path. How did you end up at Houston Baptist?
Well, like you said, I set records at Crestview Senior High School, scoring records. I averaged about 28 points a game my senior year. And again, I was all-state, all-region, all-district, all-everything in the Panhandle of Florida. Nominated McDonald's All-American. I didn't make the team, but at least I was nominated. Got a certificate for that. That made me feel good. And again, being recruited by all these colleges, and I was recruited by Florida State. Hugh Durham was the coach at the time. And then Wake Forest, William & Mary, and Auburn. Some of the notables that was sending me letters and phone calls periodically, but that was Houston Baptist. Again, Tommy Jones, assistant coach, was from the Funiac Springs, and he was one at the school, our rival, Crestview versus the Funiac, 30 miles away, and we hated to lose to them. We had to beat them. So again, I knew him, but my senior year he left, and I teased him about that today. I said, "You knew to leave." Because I was coming in. They beat us before that, but when I got there, we started beating them when he left. So he laughed about that. But again, he left and he took a job as an assistant coach at Gene Ibe at Houston Baptist. And again, that relationship again. We talked about relationship. When he started recruiting me, he was from Florida. He knew me. So again, we developed a strong relationship, and that's why I pretty much signed that letter of intent to play a small Houston Baptist University private school, and then go from there. But I didn't want to go to Auburn or Florida State and sit for a year and wait my turn. I wanted to go somewhere where I can play right away.
You could play right away.
Yes, sir.
And you played for Gene Ibe, who was the nephew of the famous basketball coach Hank Ibe.
Yeah, not knowing at the time the legend, that tree, you know what I mean? Coming out his uncle, Hank Ibe, who coached the Olympic team in 1972. The biggest ripoff in Olympic history as far as the Russians taking the gold medal from us. And again, but Hank Ibe, there was Mo Ibe, who coached at TCU, one of our St. Louis, everybody can remember, Albert Thomas played for Mo Ibe at TCU. So again, there was Clarence Ibe, who coached at Tulsa. It's just a long line of Ibe family. They're like legends, especially when it comes in Gene. Gene was a motivator. Again, he was tough on me, but he taught me so much about life and how to work and becoming a man.
And how did you, you had a great run at Houston Baptist. Eventually, after that, you went on and, basically worked after that and got your degree, worked, had a great job in a construction company, making plenty of money, but then something just about basketball kept gnawing at you, and you got back into the game as a coach. How did that come about?
Well, I'm going to take it back a little bit further. I was drafted by the Washington Bullets back in 82. And I went to the camp, and I was the next to the last player there, Jeff Rulin, Rick Mahorn, all these great players, Frank Johnson. And I was the next to last player cut during that time, so people need to know that. But again, I could have gone to Europe and played in Europe, but I decided I wanted to go back. I went back to school, got my education, and moved on. Because there was a man that came into my life by the name of Dewey Cosgrove. I met my freshman year in high school that owned a construction company, and he said, you get your degree, you can always come back and work for me. So I always remembered that. When I got my degree in 82, I went back to work for him. I started in construction business. I was making a lot of money. Oh my God, I was making so much. But again, money don't always make you happy. It always make you happy. There was always something, and Mr. Cosgrove knew that I loved basketball because I used to shut down job sites and I go to the playground and play ball. You know what I mean? And he said, and I woke up one morning, it's like the Lord touched me and said, I want you to coach. I want you to coach. And I went to my high school in Crestview, Florida, and the principal, Ronald Davis, hired me on the spot. He hired me right away. I was a JV coach, but I just wanted to get into the business to help kids because I used to watch our boys in the hood. Like in your city now, I have to watch these kids and what they're doing in the hood, in the community, and they weren't doing the right thing. And they were out in the street, 2 o'clock in the morning. I purposely get in my car sometime and drive up through the hood and let me catch them up there. You know what I mean?
Right.
You guys should be home. And before I started coaching, I asked these guys, do you guys want to go to college? They'd always say yes. I said, no, you don't. Because if you did, you'd be home. You'd be home with your mom, with your parents, and doing your homework, and not being out here making F's, being late for school, not going to school. So again, that's the reason I got into coaching, was to help kids. And then all of a sudden, Gene Iber found out I was coaching, gave me a call at Baylor. I joined him at Baylor, got into college coaching.
And then basically at Baylor, you did an excellent job there. And what we're going to get into when we come back from our break is how you ended up in St. Louis from Baylor University. So when we come back here on the Sports Extravaganza with the coach Kelvin Lee, we're going to pick it up from his journey once he got here to St. Louis and how that journey has taken him to where he is today. Welcome back to the Sports Extravaganza, presented by Hollywood Entertainment. I'm your co-host, Tony Dean. We're going to pick it back up with the coach because it's just too interesting to stop. You know what I mean? I want to hear about what happened when you got here to St. Louis. What led you to come here to St. Louis and be the coach that you are?
Well, again, I'm gonna go back a little bit before I get to St. Louis. Again, I was a college coach for about 12 years at Baylor University, St. Louis University with Charlie Spoonhour, the late Charlie Spoonhour, and Texas A&M with Tony Barone. So again, I've been around some great coaches, but my experience at Texas A&M was what led me to St. Louis. And again, I tell a lot of coaches, a lot of young coaches, high school coaches who has aspirations of getting into that college basketball. I said, be careful, because it's not like it used to be. Friendships, relationships were prominent back when I was coming up, but nowadays there's just so much money being made that it's really a cutthroat business. You have to be careful. It's all about who you work for and not what you work for, man. Who you work for, that head coach. So my situation in Texas A&M, if I would have known, I would have stayed in St. Louis with Charlie Spoonhour, but not knowing what I was going into at A&M was, again, I was the fall guy of a program. And you've heard of fall guys, you know what I mean? Again,
yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Again, I was a fall guy. He blamed everything on me for what was happening at Texas A&M. So again, I was only there 6 months. You know, me and my wife at the time, Karen Lee, and again, she was pregnant with my daughter Mackenzie, and it was just a stressful situation. It wasn't good. So again, my advice to a lot of coaches out there, again, it's not about what you're working for, it's who you work for. Be careful when you make that jump to college, because trust is very, very important, and loyalty in that business. So again, it didn't work out at Texas A&M. I eventually moved back to St. Louis. Got into I didn't want to coach anymore, Tony. What happened at A&M, I had a sour taste in my mouth, and I got out of coaching, man. I didn't want to coach. So I got into the insurance industry. You know, my junior high coach, Dalton Sheffield, knew this general agent at the company here in St. Louis, a company called The Guardian. So I called my junior, he called him, and that guy hired me. So I was selling insurance for about 6 months again, building my clientele, doing really well.
But that little voice was talking to you.
That was always there. But what happened was Dan Brewer, the general agent, walked in my office one day. He said, "We need your help." I said, "Dan, what's going on, man?" He said, "Well, we're coaching a 6th grade team that consists of our sons, and they don't listen to us. We need somebody who knows what they're doing, a coach who knows what he's doing to coach our kids." I asked him, I said, "What kind of defense you guys playing?" He said, 2-3 zone. I said, "Dan, you can take that 2-3 zone and throw it out the window. I'm going to teach these kids man to man and teach them how to work a little bit." So that's what got me. Again, I started coaching these boys, you know, and they thought I was a madman because I was get on the line, run. I mean, run. Every mistake there, get on the line, run. You know, still in that discipline in them.
That's right.
But I started feeling that passion again for coaching. You know what I mean? That's what really got me that itch again. And again, what happened was Charlie Spoonhour called me up one day. He said, "Kelvin, did you hear about Chaminade? Chaminade's open." And I heard about another man. I've been around. I used to referee games up there at the time, you know, in Lou Pasu leagues. Right. You know, the late Lou Pasu. Right. So I used to go up there and referee, so I knew what was going on. But I heard another man was going to get a job. And Spoon, he called. He said, "Kelvin, let me make a phone call over there. Stay put. I'll make a phone call and get back with you." So he called me right back. He said, "Kelvin, you need to get in touch with them." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "They know you're out there. They just don't know how to get a hold of you." And what happened was I worked at camp for Rich Cryer, the great coach, Rich Cryer.
That's right.
I worked one of his camps at Chaminade. And what happened was, you know how you do stations?
That's right.
And every day we did a station, there was an old man would just come and stand there and stare at me and just look at me. And I'm like, who is this guy? Excuse me, who is this guy? You know, and come to find out, he was a teacher. He's one of these old counselor at Chaminade. And every day, the principal, when I interviewed, and the AD, they told me every day that man would come in there and say, you need to hire this man. He was watching my station and how I was going about my business. So again, what's the old saying? You never know who's watching you.
You never know who's watching.
Yeah, that man was watching me, and he helped me get this job at Chaminade. You know, so again, that's what, that led to me at Chaminade, and then the rest is history to me, because again, everybody thought I was going back into college, by the way. But a lot of high school coaches said, oh, he's not going to be there long. 2 or 3 years, he'd be gone. But they don't understand. They don't understand me. Okay?
It's about the youth.
Exactly.
And the
My happiness is more important to me than anything. I was happy at Chaminade. People didn't see that. All right? I could have gone. Billy Donovan and Coach Smart in Texas. He was with Billy Donovan and recruiting David Lee. Sure. And they would always say, you want to get back in this business? I had an opportunity. But I had just had my son. KJ was born. And I would tell them, I said, hey, it sounds great, but I'm not leaving my son. I went back to my dad leaving me.
That's right.
And lessons learned from my dad loved me, and I'm not leaving my kids to go make money and possibly be unhappy again. I'm gonna be happy here with my kids.
So tell me, what was the saga with Chaminade? I mean, Chaminade, you did such a great job, won a state championship there. You're coaching players that have become NBA players like David Lee and like Bradley Beal. You know, I mean, it looked like you were destined to always be at Chaminade and be there the rest of your career, but it didn't work out that way. Why not?
Well, again, that was a lifetime job for me. I really wanted to stay there and retire. That was like my retirement job. 16 years in one place is a long time in the coaching business. It's a long time. So again, I take my hat off to Father Raff, the president, and Tom Fiala, the AD, Jim Gurka, the principal, those guys who hired me. I take my hat off to them. They gave me that opportunity. Then, like you said, David Lee, Kenny Lee, Frank Bennett, who's the head coach there now, these guys came in and started my program. Again, I say they started, but that first team, that first 2 years, I won 4 games. The next year I won 9. But there were some guys on that, some kids I inherited, okay?
Yes.
Joe Beeline was one of them. John Beeline, the coach of Michigan, that was his nephew. Okay. And I didn't know that till I met him in San Antonio in the Final Four. So again, those kids, I probably did my best coaching job when we won 4 games because I coached them up. We never quit. We were always in every game. But again, they were great kids. Always, they bought into what I was doing. But they came, again, Kenny Lee, Frank Bennett, David Lee, and then all of a sudden the program took off.
You had set the foundation.
Yeah, the foundation was set, and these kids came in, and we started winning. And again, like Florida Irons, who's coming in soon, Florida Irons always told me, he says, Kelvin, you don't have to worry about me. I'm going to get my players. You got to worry about those coaches within your own league. You got to worry about them, because when you start winning, that's when the accusations. Now, he was right. I started getting the cheating and recruiting. No, the people don't. I cross my T's and dot my I's. And I do things the right way through the admissions. We did things the right way. I used my basketball camps. Everybody always accused you, but an African American coach, and you start winning. Oh yeah, that's what's gonna happen. But again, I had a great run there. I was blessed by parents to believe in me and trust me to take care of their kids. All right. And be there and make myself available for them. And I developed so many relationships. Bradley Beal, his mom Bester Beal, and we all know Bester. Oh, if you can put up with Bester, you can put up with anybody in this lifetime. You know what I mean? So again, it was just the relationships though. Again, I can still call Bester, and I can still call David. Gary Lee, he came by my camp just this past Friday, to speak to the kids. And David's been graduated for so long, retired from the NBA, married and got kids now. But again, it's like those relationships though. Yeah.
Right. That's the beauty of it, those relationships. And speaking of relationships, there's more relationships. Even though one door closes at Chaminade, another door opens, and you become head basketball coach in other spots in the St. Louis area, and you continue to work your magic. And when we come back, here on the Sports Extravaganza, it'll be more with the coach, Kelvin Lee. We will be right back. All right. We are back here at the Sports Extravaganza presented by Hallelujah Entertainment with my co-host and special guest today, Coach Kelvin Lee. Coach, there's a few different spots that you were at as far as coaching that you weren't necessarily happy at, but now you've landed at University City. Tell me about that. Tell me about being not just a coach at University City, but those relationships and the University City, the team circle that you guys have invented there and come through.
Again, Tony, I go back to Clyde C. Miller. That's my first stop when I left Chaminade. That was my first. People realized that was a part-time job for me, though, because I had severance pay from Chaminade, a year's pay, and I knew that. So again, Clyde C. Miller was a great experience for me, being in that environment, the public high league with Bashan, and Callahan, and all those schools. It was a great experience. And then moving on from there, St. Mary's High School. Again, I wasn't happy there. But the relationship with those kids, Yuri Collins, who's at St. Louis University now, okay, Yahuza Rasaz, who's at Texas Southern, Tony Burks, who's at Columbia College. The relationship with those kids would never end because, again, I text them every day. I stay in touch with them, all my former players. And then, again, lo and behold, University City came about after I left. Spent 3 great years at St. Mary's, but again, using University City, I interviewed at John Burroughs. Then I interviewed at U City. Then I prayed on it, and I said, I think U City needs me. These kids over here need me. I could have gone back to that private sector from John Burroughs, and those kids, those rich kids again, but I think these kids need me more than ever at U City.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. That is fantastic. And the University City Circle, real quick as we wrap it up, Coach, what's that all about?
Yeah. The Circle is that's my title in the building, Restorative Practices Specialist. And again, I use circles. And that was a natural for me because as a coach, sometimes we circle our team up, not even knowing about restorative practice. Now, I used to circle my team up, hold hands, and let each player talk a little bit, and let them talk. They just feel, what do you think about practice today? What do you take away from practice? But then I got into it. I trained in Chicago for the job, knowing more about restorative practices, right? And again, I had a circle with my team when I thought we needed it, more Martin Luther King. It was like Black History Month. We were talking about Martin Luther King. And then at the time, Tim Clark and some of my players spoke. And then again, that's the thing about circles, the equality. Again, everybody have a chance. The kids have a voice. Even in the school, they have a voice. Some kids don't realize that, but you have a voice. But they were speaking, man, we were in tears. It was very touching. And in U City, they did an article on it, and it went national. It went national. It was a touching moment for my team to bond. We came together, became closer together. The trust, all these key words, they trusted me now more. And again, I got to take back the superintendent, Sharonica Harden, and our principal, Michael Peoples. Those guys are very, again, they're very supportive of what we are doing at University City because leadership starts where? At the top. And it comes down. And then we got leadership, strong leadership at the top of our district with our superintendent and principal of the school.
Of course, the team circle is more than about basketball. It's about life. And speaking of your story, I mean, we could go on and on and on, but we're under time constraints today, so we can't do it. But I want to thank Hallelujah Entertainment. I want to thank especially our director, Curtis Conyers. And I definitely want to thank Ferguson, Missouri, and the Sports Extravaganza team for putting this together. Our first inaugural edition with the coach, Kelvin Lee, being at my side. It's been fantastic. It's been invigorating. It's been enlightening and everything else. And I look forward to doing this in the coming shows and look forward to being with you, Coach. So thanks to everyone here at Hallelujah Entertainment. And Coach, any words before we sign off?
One more thing. Again, in 2 weeks now, we got the 4th of July weekend coming up, so we'll be off that weekend. But July, I think it's 10th. July 10th, we're going to have the legendary Florida Irons in the house. And that's going to be a great day for the podcast.
that will be definitely interesting. We've got the podcast that's going to last. So here at the Sports Extravaganza, I'm Tony Dean for the coach, Kelvin Lee, signing off for the day. Take care.